Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale. Thanks to National Pork Board for sponsoring this video. Today I'm going to share with you how to make a delicious porchetta. Now, something I really love, and I tell you guys about this all the time, is how food is very transportive, right? It takes you back to a time and place, and we're going to use pork as our passport today. We're going to travel to Tuscany, we're going to make porchetta, and we are going to absolutely enjoy every second of dinner tonight, really feeling like we're somewhere else. That's the thing I really love about food, and using pork as a passport. It can take you all over the world. It's really one of the most common proteins around the world that's celebrated. And I love that, you know what I mean? Like, if you think of Kansas City barbecue, you think of pork. A Cuban sandwich, you think of pork. Carnitas, you think of pork. A porchetta, you think of pork. You know what I mean? We're using it to travel. We're using it to go somewhere on a random Tuesday night, and it's going to feel phenomenal. So let's get started. I'm going to show you what you need to make this. It's really super simple. We're going to get going on the aromatics and what you need to make the rub that's really going to infuse this. In here, I've got some coarsely ground peppercorns and some fennel seeds, right? I'm going to add them to a dry skillet, and what I'm going to do is just toast them lightly. They become really fragrant. All of that beautiful natural oil starts to come out of them, and then we're going to pound them in a mortar and pestle heel just to really get that flavor out, and then we're going to rub it in our pork belly, which I will show you in just a minute. We're going to combine that with oranges and lemon, garlic, lots of herbs like thyme, sage, and rosemary. You'll need a lot of salt, and we will be in business. Now, if you were doing this around the holiday season, some cooked chestnuts would be really wonderful. If you wanted to layer some sausage in there, that would be really phenomenal. You could also do some raisins, believe it or not. It would just be wonderful. When I had this in Tuscany, I went to Tuscany a couple years ago for actually a work trip, and we were treated to some of the most phenomenal food and some of the most incredible meat ever. And we had a chef come to the house one night, and he had porchetta, and he had all these beautiful pieces of pork that he just would slice thin on bread, served up, and it was phenomenal. And it was presented in a really simple way, and it just stuck with me. The crispy skin stuck with me. The simplicity of it, yet I was just so impressed with it. It was fantastic. So I'm gonna let these toast up, and then we get them crushed. I don't want to turn this into a complete powder, but I just want to really release. Oh, it smells phenomenal. Really phenomenal. Release all that beautiful flavor. I'm gonna go ahead and pop that back into my small bowl just so that it's easier for me to handle. And then what I'm going to do next, this is so heavy. Woo! Oh my word. I'm gonna just set this aside. And what I'm going to do, because I really kind of want to get everything ready before I bring my pork out, I'm gonna go ahead and take some garlic, and I'm going to just grate it with just a zester into a little bowl so that it's ready for me. Garlic is grated. The very end pieces I just leave whole, so I don't want to take it too far on the zester. Let's talk pork. This is a beautiful slab of pork belly. To me, pork belly is a symbol of celebration. I love this cut of pork. It feeds people so well. It's something a little more exciting. Especially in the middle of a work week. Say everybody's busy, everybody's got things going on, but you want to treat people to something really special. This is where pork belly comes in handy. So we're going to go ahead and roll this, but here's what we're going to do. We don't need all the fat. The part that's going to be rolled, you don't want the fat. So about yay much, you can take your pork belly, you can flip it upside down, okay, and you can sort of roll this, right, and then see, okay, about yay much needs to go, because we don't need all of that extra fat, because it's just going to be in there and it's going to be underneath, you know what I mean? So it doesn't get crispy. So what's the point? So it's not much, actually. I think a small sharp knife does the job best for this, but hey, whatever nice sharp knife you have that does the job, by all means go ahead and do it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove most of the fat from this little section here that's going to be rolled under. Now that we did that bit, we need to score this side, okay? Like I said, I like to use a small knife for this. You don't want to go too far down, but you want to go, it's going to be really hard for me to show you, but yay much, okay? You're gonna just do this crosswise all the way. You know, I think of pork and I think a lot of my nonna, right? Because we ate pork growing up a lot, whether it was like a pork chop for just my uncle when he came home at the end of a busy day, or something indulgent like a sugo with lots of pork bones in there to feed a family. It's just, you know, it's like I said, it's something really special, yet easy to prepare. I feel like it's super versatile, and it's also like the most authentic way, I think. Pork is like the most authentic way to learn about a cuisine, a culture. Like, you go to a household, you know, with a Puerto Rican family, which I know, and they make a pernil that, I mean, it's revolutionary, okay? And I want that. I want you to travel with food, and I want you to use pork as your passport. It's incredible. So I'm just gonna go ahead and keep scoring. You can see I'm not going too deep, and I'm kind of keeping it's kind of on the smaller side, and then we're gonna do it on the opposite side, kind of like that. I find it much easier to salt and pepper this side before we roll it, but you can also do it the other way. It doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure it's got a good amount of salt and pepper, because you want that skin to be delicious, because once it's done, it's going to be so fabulous and just the most incredible crunch you've ever had in your life. So salt and pepper. Now we're going to just turn this around. Okay, and we're going to score this side as well, except this side you're going to go a little bit deeper. Okay, now that it's scored, we're going to go ahead and hit this with some salt. You want to make sure your meat's always well salted, because that's really what enhances all the flavor. Then we're going to go ahead and sprinkle on there, remember the fennel and black pepper that we toasted and ground up so well, and the smells absolutely incredible. Okay, then we're gonna zest some orange, which I know sounds odd, but you have to trust me on this. This is absolutely phenomenal. And when the zest of the orange mixes with the lemon and the fennel, I mean, it is just out of this world. And what a great meal for the holidays, or just like I said, if you're trying to do something special. It's a showstopper. Just wait till you see the end. Oh my goodness. It is just really gonna blow your mind. And then some lemon. Then we add our garlic, and now we smoosh this all over. And I do this before I add my herbs, because once I add my herbs, I just kind of leave them where they are and then just roll this whole thing up. So just make sure you take this flavor from end to end. Strip the leaves off the thyme and add your thyme leaves right on top. I don't chop them or anything. And then any of the small tender stems, you don't have to even chop them, because they literally just start to fall apart after you cook it anyway. So just get all of that off. Same with your rosemary. I kind of like to just kind of pinch the rosemary leaves between my fingers, only because it just sort of releases their flavor, but I'm not gonna go through the trouble to chop it up. Like so. I'm gonna use probably 2 sprigs. Rosemary is really strong, but rosemary and pork are best buds, so we love that. And finally, that's great. And finally, we're gonna do some sage. I do whole leaves of sage right on there, because it's just going to infuse the flavor. And I don't do a lot. I do maybe like 5 or 6 leaves, because it's really strong and it releases its aroma once it, you know, as it cooks anyway. So that's good enough. Now what I've also got here is some kitchen twine that I've cut. I have about 8 pieces. We'll see how many I'll need. And that way we can rock and roll and tie it up. I also have a baking pan or a roasting pan with a wire rack over the top. This is really important, because you're gonna cook it in this, but it also needs to rest overnight, which I know what you're saying. How can I have this in the middle of the week if I have to let it rest overnight? Hey, listen, you can make it, you can do this whole thing the night before, and then all you have to do is roast it for a few hours the next day, if you've got the time. If not, it's great for a weekend, right? So now we're gonna just literally rock and roll, baby. We rock and roll. And look at that, we did that perfectly. We cut up the perfect amount of fat. And now I'm not gonna truss it like perfectly because you know me and I don't do that. Probably should have cut bigger pieces of twine, but you know what, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, this is why we love home cooking, because no one tells us what to do. I'm gonna go ahead and just sort of tie it all the way around. Put it on your pan here like that. You want the cut side, exposed side to be underneath so that all the skin is exposed and gets all really crispy. But this has to go in the fridge for about 24 hours, which I know sounds crazy. You can actually even wait for 48 hours for even better results, but a girl can only wait so long. So I'm gonna pop this into the fridge for about 24 hours. And then I will show you what it looks like before we put it in the oven, and I'll tell you about the temperature and all that. Do not cover it. And the best thing to do is to place it on the very top rack of your fridge with nothing else around it. Leave it exposed. It will dry out the skin and give you the most incredible crackling of your entire life. So you're gonna have to trust me. I know it sounds like it's a lot, a lot of time to wait, but it is worth it. Good things are worth the wait. So I'm gonna go do that. And when it's ready to roast, I'll show you what it looks like. My pork was in the fridge for about 20 hours actually. So you can do one, of a few things, right? Like I told you before, you can keep this in the fridge for up to 48 hours to really maximize drying it out and getting that crispy, delicious skin. You can leave it in there just overnight, like 12-ish hours or so, and then roast it, or you can do somewhere in the middle, like right around 20 hours, and then go ahead and roast it. So you just want to make sure you take it out of the fridge for about an hour before you pop it into the oven, because you kind of want it to relax a little, not come to room temperature, but you don't want it to be really, really cold and just throw it right into the oven. So I've got my oven preheated to 300. We're going to slowly roast this for a couple of hours. It's going to take about 2.5 hours. For a piece about this big, we're looking at about 2.5 hours at 300, or until the internal temperature reaches 145. Now, normally if I'm looking at working with a pork loin, a tenderloin, or like a nice pork chop, I would cook it at 145. A nice lean piece, I would leave it at 145. This, as you can see, it's got a lot of fat on the top, and I really want to render that fat, and I really want to crisp up that skin, so it's going to need to cook a little bit longer. So after the 2.5 hours, or once it reaches 145, I'm going to crank the temperature up to 500. I'm not going to take this out at all. Once your oven temperature reaches 500, time it for 30 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and do this. In total, it's going to cook about 3 hours and like 5-ish minutes, because the oven will take 5 minutes to go from 300 to 500. Never taking it out. Put this at the bottom rack in your oven. Don't place it on the top. I go right on the bottom rack. And once it's done, I will show you what it looks like. It's going to need to rest before we cut into it, and it's going to be magical. My porchetta was in the oven for a total of about 3 hours and 10 minutes. Now remember, it was at 300 for about 2.5 hours, 300 degrees, until it reached 145 degrees. And then I cranked up the heat to 500. I kept it in there. And then once the temperature reached 500, I timed it for 30 minutes, and I took it out at about 165 degrees. I let it cool for about 15 minutes. You never want to cut into meat as soon as you take it out of the oven or the grill or whatnot, simply because all those beautiful juices will not have a chance to really redistribute. I'm going to go ahead and just cut half of this, because as you can see, there's a lot here, but can you hear that? Can you hear that crispy? Let me bring my knife real close here, my mic. Can you hear that incredible crackling? Just you wait until we cut into this. This is absolutely going to be incredible, and what a real treat. Look at that. Look at the juices, okay? Look at that. Can you see it? Can you even stand it? I know you can't, but I'm excited to share it with you, okay? I am excited. I'm excited to bring some excitement, some delicious flavor using pork to my everyday kitchen. I just love it. I love to celebrate food. I love to celebrate it all the time, but when it's something so special that you're making, like in this case, I'm just really trying to take myself back to Tuscany. I mean, it's just, the excitement is real, okay? Now let me give you options, because life's full of options. And I wouldn't be me if I didn't give you options. You can serve this. I had it with roasted fennel and polenta, which was fabulous. But what's even better than that, which by the way, this is the roasted fennel, this is the polenta. I've roasted the fennel with just balsamic vinegar, a little lemon juice, olive oil, salt, and pepper, 450, 20 minutes. And this is just plain old polenta. Just read the instructions on the back of the package and make it according to that. Whatever fancies your boat, that's what you should do. But you know what's even better? A porchetta sandwich on ciabatta with provolone and broccoli rabe. And that's how we're gonna serve it tonight. Because go big or go home. Actually, we're gonna serve it both ways. So, get rid of your twine, and I hope that you can hear the crunch of this pork skin. Oh, I like to cut it nice and thin. You can see it just holds together so perfectly. It is truly unbelievable. Look at this. I mean, it is just so incredibly juicy. It smells incredible. Can I just tell you, the smell in here is intoxicating, okay? Between the sage, the garlic, the citrus, everything together is just absolutely magnificent. I like to pile it up real nice like that, right? Make it real nice. Then, this is not gonna be a neat sandwich, but you know what? It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Why am I making this harder for myself when I can just move this closer? Because I am gonna pile it up with broccoli rabe. Yes, I am. Yes, she is. Take your broccoli rabe. You can also use spinach. I know some people don't love broccoli rabe, but this, listen, I want to go back to Italy, okay? And this is how we do it. This is how we do it, baby. Yes. The broccoli rabe is nice and hot. Provolone. I mean, is this not show-stopping? Because I think you were trying to say that it is, okay? A feast. A feast in every way, right? Look at this. I'm gonna cut smaller pieces out of it, but look at that. Fantastic. You know, we need a piece of this. I need a piece of the skin. I need a piece of that. Can you hear it? Listen. I love this. I know you will too. Add excitement and flavor to your everyday moments using pork. To get more information, more recipes, a lot more fun stuff, go to www.pork.org/realpork. A lot more there for you. Like I said, a lot more recipes. I hope you enjoy spending time with me. This was a pleasure, as always. Thank you to National Pork Board for sponsoring this video. I'm gonna go dive in. I've got Tuscany to recreate. I got a belly that wants porchetta. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.